Hello and welcome again to the Writer Review. This is Eric Carruth Writer, and this week we're going to be looking at the 2008 movie titled How to Lose Friends and Alienate People. Now this movie was a comedy, and it's loosely based on the memoirs of British journalist Toby Young, who once worked for Vanity Fair. The movie was directed by Robert Weide, and it was written by Peter Straughan, and the stars of the movie are Simon Pegg, Kirsten Dunst, Jeff Bridges, Gillian Anderson, Danny Huston, and Megan Fox. The time of the movie is 1 hour and 50 minutes long, and the plot goes a little something like this. Sidney Young, played by Simon Pegg, is an aspiring small-time journalist who works for a magazine that supports left-wing propaganda. One day at a party, Sidney accidentally lets a pig loose and was hired to work for Sharp's magazine in New York City. His boss, Clayton Harding, played by Jeff Bridges, is the man that Sidney once heckled in his own magazine. See, his magazine was kind of like into leaking out tabloid rumors and making fun of the Hollywood industry as a whole. Sidney and his colleagues don't actually get along with each other at first. Allison Olsen, played by Kirsten Dunst, is only working at Sharp's to pay the bills while she publishes her book. His boss, Lawrence Maddox, can't stand him either. Lawrence Maddox was played by Danny Huston. He also dares to annoy the heck out of power publicist Eleanor Johnson, played by Gillian Anderson. He introduces himself to a rising new Hollywood star named Sophie Mays, played by Megan Fox. However, he's reprimanded by Lawrence not to talk to her. Sidney tries to make a good impression, but he almost ruined it when he accidentally killed Sophie's dog. Unfortunately, Allison covers for him, and nobody else finds out it was him. At a party, Allison and Sidney's relationship continues to grow and reveals that she's ended her relationship with Lawrence. Sidney prevents her from driving home drunk, causing him to miss his opportunity to sleep with Sophie. At a later party, Sidney asks Allison out. It is revealed that Lawrence left his wife, and Allison can now be together with Sidney. In a desperate attempt to boost his career, he begs Eleanor to publish a piece on Vincent Leapak, a director he truly despises. The next day, Clayton reveals that Allison and Lawrence left, and Sidney gets his promotion. All the females that were grossed by Sidney's ineptitude and somewhat obnoxious behavior start to, catch on to Sidney, and Sidney becomes popular. The night before the awards ceremony, she stated that if he gave her his late mother's ring, and if she won Best Actress, she would have sex with him. Going into the ceremony, he sees Lawrence, now being someone he used to be, stating that he and Allison split as she was in love with him. When the winner is revealed, he steals back his mother's ring from Sophie as she was about to collect, and reveals that he killed her dog. A huge fight materializes, and Sidney leaves and quits his job at Sharp's. Then one day he meets Allison in the park, where they were showing her favorite movie. She has finally finished her book, and the two finally get together with him giving her his late mother's ring. And the movie ends with him accidentally throwing the book on a candle and jumping for it to stop it from going into flames. Want to know my opinion about this movie? Although it was loosely based on a novel by British journalist Toby Young, Pegg Sidney Young comes across as being kind of a more likable person than Toby ever was. For all those who don't know who Toby Young once was a British journalist who, for 5 years, was a contributing writer to Vanity Fair, and unfortunately his time there was not a very pleasant one. He boldly asked Nathan Lane if he was gay on the set of The Birdcage. He eventually got kicked off the set and has also made a reputation out of annoying celebrities by, asking very rhetorical questions. Are you gay? Are you Jewish? And other assorted, unnecessary questions to ask just to leak rumors and whatnot. So we must ask ourselves, how can we make a movie about an annoying jerk that takes the pleasure out of alienating those around him? Well, comedian Simon Pegg makes it all possible with his charm and charisma, and he makes it all seem quite worthwhile. I mean, you'll love him when he's sleazy, you'll love him when he fails, but no question, he succeeds in making his character perhaps 10 times more enjoyable than the real Toby Young. The supporting cast was also equally impressive, and they also play off of Pegg's characters quite flawlessly. Jeff Bridges may have come across as the typical boss, and Kirsten Dunst, she surprisingly did quite well as the charming love interest to Sydney. And, it's good to see that she kind of broke away from playing these teen queens into a more mature character. I mean, hey, come on now. She's in her 20s. It's time for her to move on to play adult characters. Jeff Bridges, he always continues to fascinate me. Gillian Anderson was very believable in her role as the tightwad journalist. Eleanor Johnson, Danny Huston comes across as a convincing antagonist and a rival to Allison's heart. So they all sort of panned out quite well. It was also good to see some cameo appearances from Daniel Craig, and Oscar-winning actress Kate Winslet also has a cameo appearance as herself. The only exception to the supporting cast that did not turn in an exceptional role was Megan Fox. To me, she was just on for the window dressing. I know she was trying her best to play the role as the spoiled prima donna Hollywood actress cliche, but I still think that she could have done much, much better. The opening scenes were definitely a delight to watch, and the laughs were enough to make you piss your pants, although I would not recommend you to do such a thing, especially if you have a girl sitting next to you. That would not necessarily be a pleasant surprise. So the opening scenes were just really laugh-out-loud moments, but then by the end of the film, it starts to get a bit sloppy and choppy, and it starts to lose its direction. I was hoping that this would not have this fairy tale ending where the guy gets the girl, they go together, maybe they might get married and live happily ever after. I was hoping they would avoid that cliche, but unfortunately, in almost every comedy, it always seems to sadly always end this way. Well, not sadly, but fortunately, formulaic, so to speak. Sydney's idiotic ways were fun to watch, but it was also painfully disturbing as well. The ending becomes cliched. I was hoping, like I said, it was not going to go down this way, but it ends up that way. So Sydney and Allison become a couple, and okay, well, fine, good for them, whatever. But it was still, an engaging film, one that will really hold your interest. The gags, the humor was really all there. And, Simon Pegg, he's just a great comedic actor. And, if you haven't seen Shaun of the Dead, I would recommend you to see that one as well. Because he's really, really just a funny guy. And I love the juxtaposition between British comedy and American comedy, and so that kind of also blends in quite well. So for those who are into American comedy who will like this, those who are into British comedy, well, there's plenty for both factions. The characters were pretty much on the whole well developed. And I'm not here to bash Megan Fox, but like I said, I know she's got potential. She's relatively young in this business. There's lots of time for her to grow and to mature. And I really hope she does, because she just didn't sit very well with me. But that's just my opinion. The silliness will definitely keep you in stitches, but it also has some realism, towards the film, towards the journalist industry. It's kind of cutthroat, and it's like every person, man or woman, for themselves, basically. I should know. I mean, I'm in journalism, and in journalism, there is always going to be competition. There's always going to be rivalries. So it also succeeds in trying to keep it real. Okay, I don't write for, a big wig publication. It's a small town community newspaper that I write for. It's won a myriad of awards over the years, and in journalism, you have to always be confident about yourself, and you have to. It does require, a little bit of rivalry, but you have to, keep it balanced, so that, no ego ends up being inflated. And I think that's the kind of message that it came around for. And that, you may have to, do underhanded things to get a story across, or to get attention. So I hope this review helps you out, and thank you for listening. Please write back to me, I'd really appreciate it. As always, be kind, be courteous, and I would really love for you to give me feedback as much as possible. If you feel that there's any need for you guys to correct me, I have no objections to it at all. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'll see you again next week. Okay? Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.